Sorry. Okay, so let me go into my ADF. So let's go. Oh, yeah, I'm on. This is my portal. So let me go into this ADF demo 10. This I already created earlier, and we'll go into Launch Studio. That's how you start your ADF. And okay, so to create a pipeline integration runtime, you go to the Manage tab. So here you just manage, and then you go into integration runtime. So this is right now it is showing auto resolve integration runtime. That's all it will show. That's the default, and that's how Azure will decide what compute resource and which region it will assign that to that. So let me create a new one. Show you how to create. So there is Azure self-hosted and Azure SSIS. SSIS for basically lifting and shifting existing packages that you have on-prem. So if I go Azure self-hosted, so either you can have the compute resources on your on Azure on your premises, so you can use self-hosted. So we'll just use Azure right now. So let's continue, and we can just rename it as whatever you want to say. Okay, and region. That's what. So you can, rather than doing auto resolve, I can set a region which is closer to you. So I just do India in that case. So I'll just create that. So that's our integration runtime created. Now this we can use to any linked services that we have. So what I will do is, these are the linked services I have. I will connect it to my blob storage. So I will, right now it is auto resolve integration runtime, and I will change that to my this one. Okay, and just apply that changes. Okay, so I had created a pipeline last time. We have created 3 pipelines. So this is copy to text, which sorry, this one copy from text. So this basically copy to text. This copies from SQL to text data. So I will run this pipeline, and now we will see the difference in the integration runtime. Earlier it would show. So let me run this and then show you what I mean. Okay. So let me max. Just paste that. Right now it's not showing any link because it's just waiting. Okay, so let's wait for a minute. Okay, so now it is completed, and if you see the integration runtime, it is used this one which we created. That's how you can use your different integration runtimes for different pipelines. That's how you could use it. Any questions on this? Anyone else? Okay. So if everyone is quiet, I'll take that one as question. Shall I? I'll move on to next thing. So let me just go into presentation. So now, because of this one, so then I'll talk about triggers. These are basically used to run the pipelines that the one like we saw right now automatically. The first one I'll talk about is the schedule trigger. This is they work on a specific period and time. So it's like the standard calendar uh, things that we might have seen, or in SQL agent, we set up a job saying that this job runs need to run uh, 2 times a day or 3 times a day, and these are the times that you give. So there's something similar to that, and this can be only in future time. We can't do it in past time. So and for one trigger, we can have many pipelines. So we could assign a. We have many pipelines. We create a trigger. We want a lot of, say maybe on 5 6 files to be copied at the same time. We could create one trigger for all the pipelines, and that's what is. And for example, you might have one trigger running with multiple pipelines. So for example, at the same time you want to run different pipelines. That's how we can do it. So there is a many to many relationship in this. So I'll show you the schedule triggers, how to create, and then we'll have a quick demo on that. So to create triggers, so we need to go again into manage and create. We go into triggers, add trigger. and we'll just create a trigger, and we'll just call it schedule. Okay, right. And this is a schedule trigger, and again the start time is in local zone. So let's say 17:13. So we want to trigger start at 5 something. Okay, so that's the start date. And then what we need to do is when these triggers will start creating, and then we can specify you want it to be every 15 minutes every day. So for example, if you want to in a day, so let me copy it to one day. And what time? So let's say 19 is right now. So 19, you need to give hours here. So and also I want to turn it at 8 a.m. So that's what you can do. And let me show you one thing. It's not showing. Sorry. So here it will keep telling the time 1842. So let me give it 8, 19, 14. Okay. So we want to run at 17:14, and again it will say 18:14. So if instead of that I want to run at 8:30, so let's say that 30. So that's how you can specify as many number of times you want to run. And once that's all, if you want to specify the end date, you can specify. That's all. And then you can start this trigger. We create that start. Let's start it. Okay. So let me give 15 here because we have already for 19. So let me close this and skip 15 another minute by the time I. Okay. So let me show you. Great. Okay. Also, so create the trigger is created. That's started. Now we need to attach it to the pipeline. So let's go back to our pipeline author, and this is our pipeline. This is what we had. So right now I have no trigger attached to this pipeline. So I'll click add and just choose the trigger. And so this will show you all what details, the same thing we put in there, right? So click OK and click OK. And you need to publish the trigger before it would start do anything. So let me publish that. Okay. Okay, so that's done. So now it's already in 17:15, 7:15. So let's go into monitor. So this is a monitoring where dashboard where you can see what's happening on on ADF. So let's go into trigger runs. Right. So I think so I missed the time. So let me refresh it. No, okay, schedule trigger. Yeah. So I think so I missed the time. So I'll just change the time on that trigger again. Let me go back in this and edit so that we can see it runs, how it runs. And I can edit from here as well. So let me edit it. And let's put this as 16 so that we can run that. Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay. And publish on. Oops again. I think that by the time I publish, it will not run again. Sorry for that. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. Do you want us to try again, or shall we move on to next? Because yeah. Okay. So once again, monitor. Yeah, it's not showing me. Let me refresh. Yeah, the time is passed. So let's do one thing. We'll schedule it, and then in the meantime we'll do the other things. So let's schedule it for 2 minutes or something like that, that we can see what's happening. Let me author it again. Edit it. And let me put it. Say, let's put it 18. Okay. So yeah. All right. Let's publish. Okay. Okay. So we'll come back and then look at our trigger and how it runs. So let me go back to presentation and I'll just talk about the other type of triggers. So that's scheduled triggers we look at. Then there are tumbling window triggers. So these are useful for cases like, for example, you are loading data from you have a OLTP kind of system from where you're loading data, and you don't want to load it at a specific time, right? So you want to say load it after every 1 hour or every 1 hour you want to load data, whatever this changes have been made there. So you want to load it into your warehouse kind of thing. So in that case, we use tumbling window triggers. So these are specific time triggers. So basically, you specify the time they will run. They run continuously, and they can be scheduled in the past. While scheduled triggers, we couldn't go in the past. And so this could be useful where you have old data, or want to copy a lot of old files, so you could go in past and based on time and then copy them. And there is only one trigger allowed per pipeline, so that's tumbling window triggers. I'll show you how it works. I'll show you where it is, and then we'll create a pipeline where we can use it as well. I'll show you that later in the demo. So let's go to monitor and see if our trigger runs. So this is the scheduled trigger that we had created earlier. It succeeded. So it is showing you that it worked fine. That's how you can see to a scheduled trigger. Let me show you how to create the tumbling window trigger. So we go to manage again and create a trigger. Okay, new. So if we I'll just show you things, and then I'll create it later. It'll run a demo. So this is where you select tumbling window, and here you give a UTC time. It's not your local time. Just be careful on that one, and you can specify how many minutes it will, minute hours, or how often that will repeat. So it will keep moving in time slice in front. That's how it will do. And in advanced, what you can do is you can basically there is a limit of two triggers, which whatever this trigger will be dependent on. That is what we can give here. And delay is the time you want to wait before you start your pipeline in that trigger. And concurrency is how many triggers will run at the same time. So that's basically that. And I'll show you one thing. If I click on this one, so if I can go in past, while this we couldn't do in the scheduled trigger. That's how we can do. So that's the basically about tumbling window trigger. I will show you an example when we create a pipeline and where we can use it. So I'll just close it for the time being. Right. Okay, I'll just discard changes. Next, let me go to presentation again. Okay. Uh, sorry. Okay. Next one is the storage event triggers. These triggers are basically any in your blob storage. If there is a file that arrives, or you're copying some file, based on that, it will trigger and it will run your pipeline. So I will quickly show that. So how it works. Okay, so let's go back to our data factory. Okay, so what we had done last time was we had created this pipeline. This one. Okay, so basically what it does, it copies, wait for a file, and then copies this file. I'll show you the file as well. Okay, so there is a file called which I have. Okay, this is called cases and death count. So right now this is on my local computer and it is not in my storage explorer. So if I go, this is my storage explorer. This is from where I'm trying to copy the ADF files. This is my container from where I'm trying to copy. That no, this is wrong. Sorry, I'm on the wrong folder. Let me go up. This is source folder. Sorry. Yeah. So there are no files right now here in my root container. So what we will do is we'll create the pipeline, storage trigger pipeline, and sorry, not pipeline. We'll create a trigger, and then we'll try and upload this file here, and then see how it works. Okay, I'll show you that. Let's go here. Okay, so let's go and again manage. Again, we go to triggers and let's create a new trigger. Let's just call it the storage. Okay, let me spell it correct. Storage, and we wanted a storage event, right? And here now, because it's a storage event, there is no time that you need to give. So you need to select your storage account from which. So I have this Visual Studio, and this is my storage account that I'm using. And the container name you can select from here, ADF file. Okay, and here you can give the path of the file or name of the file, or just wildcards as well you can use. So anyway, what I will do is I'll copy the file that I'm using. So I will just copy that name and copy. Let me copy this. Okay, right. And here there are two options. Again, there is blob created or blob deleted. So this trigger will fire either on when the blob is created or deleted. So let's do it on created. And if you want to ignore empty blobs, that also there's an option. So that's it. And we'll start the trigger on creation. So as soon as the uh, trigger is created, it will be started mode. So let's continue that. And we'll ignore.
Container name is wrong.
Sorry.
Container name is wrong.
Oh, let me go back. Okay. Is it? Okay. So did I type it wrong? Oh, okay. Yeah, I was. Okay. Sorry. Thank you for that. There's two containers, right? Thanks for that. And so just let continue. Okay. So this filters we can ignore. We'll just click on OK. So that trigger is created. Now we'll this storage trigger is created. Now we'll attach it to the pipeline that we want. So let's go in here. We wanted to create it attached to there. So we can add and new. Let's go. And that is storage one. And everything else. Again, it will show you all the details. So that's it. You can continue on that. And continue. Okay. This pipeline we had given some parameters. So I'll just give them again so that it works fine. I'll explain the parameters today again. So, okay. And message. Okay. So this was to send emails earlier. So we're doing that. That's why it will ask you the. So I'll publish that. Publish the trigger. Publish. Okay, that's done. So now let's go upload the file and then we'll check. So let's upload the file. Okay. And this is file. Let me upload this one. Okay, the file is uploaded. It's there in that folder. Now let's go back to ADF. And then again, we'll go to manage and let's look at the triggers. Trigger run, sorry, not manage. We'll go to monitor and trigger runs. Let's refresh this. Okay, it's not fired yet. Let me see storage event. Yeah, so that's the one which we did. So this is run and succeeded. So and if I see the pipeline, click on here, can go to pipeline. It is okay. So let's yeah, so that's succeeded and that's the pipeline is done fine. So if I go back, because it deletes the file after the file has been copied. So let's go back into Storage Explorer and ADF Session. Okay, so that file is gone. So that's how the storage trigger works. So it based on an arrival of a file, it will trigger. So let's go back to the presentation. Yeah. Okay. So now sorry. So the final one is the custom event triggers. These are based on custom events. So, for example, you want to run a pipeline based on a event like, uh, for example, basically changes in your database or something like that, and that basically works with Azure Event Grid. And I have not explored that much. So it works with basically it subscribes to the Azure Event Grid. The ADF will subscribe to Azure Event Grid, and it will keep looking for messages there. And once there is a message in the event grid, it will get that metadata and run the pipeline. So I've not explored that. I have to find that use case. Maybe I'll try and do a demo next time. So that's we'll do that next time. So that's about triggers. Any questions till now? And just stop for a minute. Mm, Anyone has any question? Right. Okay. Shall we move on? Okay. Uh, let's go on. So next is the parameters and variables. Let me just okay. So what are parameters? So for example, the pipeline we saw, we had giving the file name as a fixed variable. We're hard coding that. But if you want to give different file names, copy from different folders, then we don't want to create so many pipelines. So in that case, we can use parameters, and these parameters, like we use in stored procedures, I'm sure everyone must have used them. Is basically same concept. So we run the same stored procedure for different, want to bind different customer IDs. So you pass on the customer ID. That's the parameter, right? So you keep uh, similarly in ADF, you can have different folder names that you want to copy files from, and you can give those parameters. And the thing is, that you cannot change those parameters as in databases. You can't change them during the execution of the pipeline, and they can be assigned. So we can parameterize in ADF the pipeline, the linked service that we saw, even the data store, basically from where we get data, and the data flow. So these all things can be parameterized. Next is the variables. So again, for a typical stored, this is similar to like the stored procedure, we have variables. So when you start your stored procedure, you might have a variable to store maybe the cost, that you want to return to the customer, to the application. So you say cost is, you set that cost to zero initially, and you get the value. So something variables are something similar, and they can be changed during the execution. So we can say where variable value we can change during the execution of the pipeline, and they can be assigned to only one pipeline. So they can be only assigned to pipeline. Sorry. So we cannot have variables for link service, data store, data flows. So that's the basic theory behind parameters and variables. So we'll have a look at two pipelines we'll try and create where we can use these concepts. So I'll show you those. Okay, so let me go next first one. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is the next demo that we will do. We'll be copying files modified in last 15 minutes. What we'll do is there's a template we'll use to create the pipeline. And these are the parameters we'll supply. Folder path, what's the path of the folder directory, source, and all these parameters we'll supply. And we'll give these last modified and last. So these are the times between which we want the files to be copied over. So let me show you the files first. So let me go into my uh, yeah. So what I'll do is just write files modify. So I have these four files. These are old dates. So let's do one thing. I'll just delete these ones first. Let's delete these. Okay, and I'll just copy one of these three times. So let's we have copy, right, and just paste it. Mm, okay, and then just rename that as file four, right, and and let's rename that one as well. Okay. 6. Okay. So what we are trying to do, I'll just show you again in the storage explorer. So this is my source container. This is only three files. These are older files. I don't want to copy them. And so what I'll do is I'll copy all these other files that I created, upload those files. Okay. Select that. 456. Okay. And let me upload that. Okay, so these files are copied, and if you see the modified date is 1731. So we will try and copy these files to, let me show you the destination, uh, to the output folder here. So these files are there. Let me delete these ones, the old ones that I was practicing with. So let me delete this. Delete. Right. So let's delete that. Right. Okay. So yes. Okay. It's fine. It's deleted. Okay. Now let's go back. Yeah. And now we'll create the pipeline to do the work that we plan to do. So this way, again to author. That's where you start get your pipelines and all the data sources. So I'll say new, but this time I'll not create a new pipeline. I'll just create from templates. So maybe I this it's called okay. So not this document. I have to copy it. I forget the name, so I just keep it copied. Yeah, this is what. Let me copy this much at least. So basically, these are the templates which you could use. There are a lot of templates that are there are in ADF, so which you could use to copy data or do different activities. The what one which we are going to use is copy new files based on the last modified dates. This is the one which we're going to use. We'll just continue. Click that one. Now, what this has is this has a copy new files, copy activity, copy data activity, and it will ask for you for the linked services. So this is for the input where we want the source and linked service for the output. So I'm using the same linked service. So I will use the same storage because my containers are the storage account is same. So I just use the same and I'll click on use this template. So I'll go ahead and create the pipeline for you. It's called copy new file name and last modifier. I'll leave the name as it is. So what important is I'll show you those things first. Right, let me minimize this. So it has created that activity, and then it is basically created four parameters. So these are the parameters for the pipeline. So if you click here, it is pipeline parameters. So now we can give this here now. Before I start give them, so I'll show you if I go to the activity. The sources basically are from where we'll copying binary data source. Now, if you see in this also, this is parameterized. This is the container name and directory name, which have been parameterized. So this is the data source which being parameterized. So we are dynamically getting these. So if you look at these one, so this is say, it will say pipeline parameters folder source. So this is the pipeline parameter that we will give. That's what it will be used as a container name. And in this here, it will be used as the pipeline so parameter directory source. That will be the directory where we'll be copying from. So that's it. And the other thing we need to make see is the it will say filter by last file modified date and time. So the data source will only select files between the start time and end time. Again, these have been parameterized. So we have given these last modified date and from there. So I will show you the parameters again for the pipeline. I click on the pipeline and these are the parameters. So let me specify these and then run the pipeline. Okay. So I'll just say ADF files is the container name. So if you remember, that's if we let's go back again in the source, it is the container name is the folder source, right? So that's what we are giving here. So let's go back. So I'll get parameter. So that's what it is, folders, path source or ADF files. Uh, yeah, and the source is source. So yeah, uh, there is one thing you need to be careful. The naming convention is case sensitive. If you give as sources, let me show you my file source, that will be easier. So go back. I have this capital. If I give as a small letter here, the pipeline will run, but it will not copy anything. If I can show you that, but if you want to, but that's how it works. Uh, let's give it small ones, and then we'll see if it doesn't, and we'll change it. Okay. So let's give this as destination is again ADF. So this is file name is wrong. So let me again, sorry, copy ADF files, right? And this is ADF files. And the destination is my output folder. Okay, that's where I want. Now here we need to give the time between we want to copy files from. So and this is UTC time. So if I look at my files, let me go into source. These I want to find 4, 5, and 6, which were created at 20, which have modified data as 24, 12, 7:30 p.m. So what I will do is I will let me convert that. Let me just use one more browser. Okay, because okay, I think so. I have this set. So the UTC time is UK time right now. So it's 2 to 5 to 7 approximately now. So we'll give it 10 minutes ago. Maybe we can copy files between 2 5 and 2 20 or something like that. So I'll just change this time as 23. Okay. So we just need to be careful that time is UTC time. Okay. Uh, so this is 12 and here we want 24. Okay. And it was 2, right? So let's give it 14 and let's give 0, 5. Okay. And say 23. Right. Right. And here we want 24. Okay. And let's give this as 14, 25. I think so. What's the time now? So I'll just give it. Yeah, so that's 14, 10. So that's I'll make it 14 here and 15 there. So that's okay. And make this 15. Something as here 15, right? So that's the parameters we are given. And let's run this pipeline, debug this. So we can run it from here. We just run debug this. Okay, these are again, it is just showing us before running all the parameters. So this is our source, this is output, and these are the time we want to copy the files from. So just click OK. Okay, so started the pipeline. So it's running. Okay. Okay. So that's finished. Now let's go and check our folders. Okay. So let's go and ADF files. This is files and output folder. Oops, not refresh. So I told you, like, so right now I did a source, right? So the source folder was it didn't say it failed, right? So if you look at this, it's saying it's all working fine, right? But it didn't copy any files. So if I go into parameters again and let's change this again. Okay, so I'll just yes, that's the problem. I discovered it long in a typical way. So I just clicked it as source and now debug it again. Let's run it again. Okay, that's fine. Let's go. Okay. And yep, so refresh. So when you do your pipeline, so you'll have to be careful that the folder names are case sensitive. So that's done. So let's go back now. And if I refresh this, oh, this is my, oh, that's okay. Refresh. Okay, the files are in. So that's basically copying last 15 minutes. Now, if you want to do it every 15 minutes, you can't be changing the parameters by yourself. So in that case, we don't want a scheduled trigger. So don't want it to run at specific times. We don't want to keep continuously copying files which arrived in the last 15 minutes. So what we can do is I'll show you how we can use that in a tumbling window trigger. So let's go ahead. Let's let me publish this. So all our details are published. So let's publish this. Everything goes. Right. Any questions on this pipeline creation? Anything that anyone wants to ask? I'll just stop. Okay. That's that. And let me go on the triggers again. So we'll create a tumbling trigger to run every 15 minutes and copy the last two files. There is an interesting parameter that we pass on, so that I wanted to show actually. So just say trigger and say tumbling one copy file. Okay, so that's what it is. Now we do tumbling window trigger. We want to start it at what's the time? Okay, let's start it now. Yeah, that's fine. And it occurs every say 5 minutes. 5 is the minimum that you can give here. And we'll say start the trigger on creation. Click OK. So that's your tumbling window trigger is done. Now we need to attach it to the pipeline. So we go back to the pipeline. This is our pipeline. So what we will do is we'll copy one file and try and see if it works. It copies the file. So let's do this. Add a trigger. And we'll say file copy file. Okay. And so that's all it will show you again. Now, okay, click OK. Now we need to give the parameters again so that the pipeline, the trigger can fire on its own and use the parameters. So we'll just give this again, AD files, and this is basically your source, and this is your ADF files. Okay, yeah, let me just make that source capital, otherwise we'll be in the same problem. ADF files and directory is output, right? And last modified. So this is what we want. So excuse me, automatically to come from the so there are parameters for the trigger. So those two parameters I'll show you and we'll use those. So let me get those parameters. Okay. So there is a parameter called triggers output window start date. So that is the time this the last time the tumbling window ran. So what was the time that it ran? So that is we want from that date till the time it is running going to run now. So it will copy the files which have arrived in the last 15 minutes. So that's what how we will do. So it will automatically pick up the times. This is what we want to do. We'll just copy this, right? And click that. Let me remove this. Okay. So that's all we need to do. Click OK and click OK, right? And just publish the pipeline. So what we'll do is okay, that's done. So what we will do is in the meantime, we'll just create another file. So it copies the, so we know that it's only copying the last file, which has been created in last 5 minutes because we've given the trigger to run every 5 minutes. So let's go. Let's create a copy this and create a file. Let's go to okay. So that's what the file is. And now let me upload this. Okay, let my source folder. Let me upload files. And this one. Okay. So now let's look at our trigger where this fire mode. So we can just go and let's go to monitor and trigger runs. Okay, and let's go to template. So it's not run yet. So it will take approximately first time it runs after 5 minutes. So I will just wait for a few minutes. In the meantime, I'll just take you through the next thing that I wanted to do. So let me go to presentation. Sorry, any questions right now? Want me to say anything you want to find out, anything that can't understand? Okay, everyone is very quiet. Okay, let me go back in here. Okay, so next thing that we wanted to do is I'll in my source folder. Uh, sure. These are the three files. Okay, out of these three files, I'll delete the other ones later. We created 7, right? So that's copied, right? Okay, so yeah, so it's copied the 7th one. So it's there. So that we'll just go back and see our trigger. And, yeah, so the trigger has run. So the tumbling copy and copied only the 7th file. It didn't copy any other file. So the 7th file it has copied. So that's how we can create a tumbling window trigger, and it works. It will keep getting the latest files in the last 5 minutes. So that's how we can do the pipeline ones. Okay. Yeah. Another thing that yeah, just 1 minute. Give me a minute. Okay. Because I've been talking, I just want to stop. Anyone has any questions? Or is it making sense, or is it just not making sense right now? Anyone wants to just give me a feedback? That'll be good. No. Okay. Uh, okay. Let's continue then. I hope you guys are understanding. And if you have any questions anyway later, you can always contact me on WhatsApp, so that'll be fine. Uh, So let's do the last thing that I wanted to show today. Let's go into here. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll copy. Let me do one thing first, then I'll come back here. Let's delete all these files from our destination folder and this. Yeah. Also, I'll stop my trigger. Otherwise, keep copying the files. But it might not copy. It is going ahead. So that's right. So let's delete this. Yeah. So what we want to do now is we have these three files. We based on the last modified date, we want to copy the latest file, which is basically file 3 in our case. Uh, so I have one question for you. Like, how would you do it on a normal programming kind of scenario? How would you do it? You know, how do you tackle that kind of problem? How do you do it? No one. I don't know. Is it a day, Sunday, that no one wants to talk, or is it something else? Right. Can go. I can't hear you. Is it? Who's that? I'm saying. Okay. Um, yeah. So let me let's just see how we would do it. So in it, we will write a stored procedure in SQL. That's how I am good at. So what we will do is usually we'll have two variables which will store the file name, and we are checking, and the reference date. So a date to compare with. That's how we'll have two variables. And whatever files are there in my folder. So I had 4 files right here. Let me go back. So all these 3 files I will loop through, right, one by one, loop through and compare with my existing date or the reference date and say if this is greater. Like, so first time I come in the loop and say, oh, this is greater, and then I will replace my parameter, which will go back. Right. So get the file name and modified date. We'll get these two things, and if the modified date is greater than the reference date that we have, we will change this parameter, right? Not parameter, the variable, right? So we'll change the variable, we'll put reference date in the modified date, and we'll go again, right? That's how you would do that loop, run that loop 3 times till you get the file which has the latest modified date, right? Is that clear for everyone? Yeah.
Yes, Anup.
Yeah. So that is what we will do in ADF. So that similar thing we will try and do in ADF now. So let me go and share my, okay, let me go back to ADF. So let's create a pipeline again. Okay, one second. Yeah. So, author, and let's create a new pipeline. Sorry. Oh, menu, new pipeline. Let's call it PL underscore copy last modified, copy file last modified. Okay, so let's do that. Minimize this. Okay, so that's it. That's all I want. I minimize this. So first thing what we want to do is in our folder, we want to get all the files that are there in that folder. So for that, there is an activity called get metadata. So let's do that. Let's use that. Oh, I'll search for that. Get metadata. Let's do that. And in here, just let me rename this. So this is get all file names, right? And in this, we need to provide the data source from where we want to read or which folder we want to use. So let me create a new data source. I don't have one. So we get storage. Okay, continue. Because it's mine is a blob storage, so from where I'm in, and the file is a comma delimited file. So just continue and say data source. Data source is file folder, and this is source. This is called as source. And the link service, again, the blob storage link service I want to use. And if I go, it's just ADF files, and we want to read from the source. Okay, that folder, but we don't want to get the file name, right? We want to get that activity to get the file name. So we'll just do that. And here we don't want to import any schema. We'll do that. And that is usually in case of files which have Excel files. If you want to have tables, my files are just plain text, nothing is there. So I just click done, click OK. And now in this field list, this is where you say new field list. What I want is child items. Okay, and that's all I want. So that's all we need to give here. Let's debug it till here so we know what we are getting. I can show you what is happening in the background. Okay, so let's refresh. Okay, so now let's look at the output. So let me maximize this. So it's basically created an array. So it's called child items and it's called name, and so it's file name and everything. So that's now what we want to do is we want to iterate over each one of them, right? That's what we got all the file names. Now we want to iterate. Oh, I forgot one of the most important steps. Sorry. We needed to create the parameters. So I pipeline and not the parameters, sorry, the variables that we will use. So let me create the new variables. First one I wanted to call mm, current file name. That's to store the file name that as we discussed. I forgot of this, and that is one. And we'll get another one, which is to call the uh, reference date. Reference date. So this we are initially giving as the 1900 01 01 01, and you can put all 0 here. Okay, so that's the variable I forgot about. Sorry. So that's the main thing we want in this pipeline. So that's it. So now we want to iterate. We got all the file names from the folder. Now we want to iterate over all the file names. So there is a activity called for each. So right, for activity. So we'll use that for activity here, right? And we want the output of this to in the for activity, right? So let's say for each file, let's call it each file, right? Okay. And in the settings, we need to go, and here is where we need to give it what uh, it needs to iterate over. So we just click on this, click on add dynamic content. So it is one second. Oh, sorry, again I forgot. We want the output of this to go to be used. So maybe I didn't connect the two. So I've connected now. So if I go back here for each, and this is where I want to go connect. And this is the activity output. So from the activity, what I want is for each file name, right? So we get all file names are metadata activity. From there, we want mm, item name, right? That's what it was showing, right? So when we saw the array. So get all file name item name. So we'll just click on that. Okay. So that it will run for each of them. So now when it's running, so what we want to do is go again, okay, right? And let's go in here. Now what we want to do is we want to get the file name and the modified date. We know the file name. For each file that we get, we want to get the modified date. So for that, again, we'll do get metadata activity. Okay, right? And we'll say the name is get modified date. Modified date. And in the settings again, so here again, we need to provide a data set. So we'll do a new data set because we can't use the old one because we were getting the file names. We had given a folder. So let's give a new data set. So let's call it ds underscore. I didn't get the name, sorry. It's just storage. Okay. And let's do this. In this, we will say ds underscore get uh, modified date. And this is our source again. So that's what we look. And the link service we're going to use here. And they don't want anything. So this will just give the container name. Okay, so and click OK on that. Right now, you can know none. So we'll parameterize this as well because we want to change the file name here. So we'll parameterize the data source. I'll show you how to do that as well. So click on OK, and we open the data source again, and we click a parameter here and say new. So this is the file name. So this is the parameter. We'll give it to the data source. So to read that file, and then we'll get the modified date. So in the connection, that's all we need to give. Here you now can give the parameter in the file path. So we'll say the parameter we defined earlier. That's the file name. We'll click OK. So that's all we need to do. Now we can go back to the pipeline. Okay, let me go back. Yeah, that's my data source. Yeah, so we are in for each, right? So here, this is my get metadata. So here the file name, what we want to give is that is coming from the for each that we are getting, right? So we'll give here that was give, and for each file items, it is items dot name. So you want each name. Okay, click on OK. So for each file name, that's what we want, right? And this is what we want. Okay, okay, that's all. That's yeah, that's all we want. So let me run this till here, and then we'll show you what it's going. Okay. Mm. Okay, sorry. Oh, sorry. So what we want to get? Sorry, I forgot. We need to get the now for each set of the file that we are passing here, we want the modified date. So I forgot for that. Sorry. So let's go. So modified date. We want the modified date. Last modified date, and we'll get the file name. Yeah. So we'll just get the item name. That's basically the file. So because we have two variables, so we're getting storing that as well. Okay, so let's run till here and show you what it's doing. Okay, so it's cute. Okay, let's see what is it. Right, does the problem here? Saying what item found. Yeah, it's not. So, yeah, it is something. Let's do that again. Okay, get file. Yeah, that's what was my all right. So item name, right? We used here. Okay, that's what it is. Let me just run it again. Mhm. One second, something is wrong. Somewhere I'm doing something wrong. Um, mm, mm, mm. Sorry. Can this be that same this one only, right? Okay. Get on file. Mm, mm, okay. Give me 1 minute. That's all. I have to just cancel this. Stop. 1 second. I have to do this. I'm sorry, I maybe over. Sorry, I'm not able to find out what is causing that to fail. Is it okay if I show that next time? Is it, I'm sorry for this. Yeah. Anyone has any questions on that one, or you, anyone can help me in debug that one? That'd be great. I just know. Okay, so I'm just seeing. This is what error is. Let's have a look at error again. Pipeline. Okay, so it's fail. It's maximum activity failure. It's yeah. So if I maximize that, saying the expression then activity get all file names cannot be valid because item name does not exist. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So what I think so the problem is I'm just getting child items from this activity. Get okay. That's what I did wrong for each get file names. Okay. So we want to iterate over all those files. That is called okay. Let me just delete this one and let's start. Let's delete this and see this. So if I ran that, so okay, right, okay. So output I check that one. Okay, so it is called child items dot. Okay, so it's will be child items dot name, right? So okay, and that's what I want. Okay, so I will just do my for again. Let me do that because we want for. Okay, let's go back again. And for each, let's leave this name. Okay, settings. Okay, right. And oh, sorry, again, let's cancel this. Sorry for that. I'm struggling today. Right. Right. And let's it. Oh, not yet. Let me fix this one first. Okay, settings. You want optimized activity output. Yeah, so this is what. No, this is not it. That goes. Hmm, okay, that's what we want, right? So we want all the file names one by from there. So this is what was causing on. So let me click OK on that one. And that's the one. And we'll just add an activity, the get metadata. So we'll just add so to get the for each file in that array that we had. So we'll just get the modified days. So let's say get metadata and not rename, not spend time on that. Let's do the settings. And we already created that data source. Um, get modified source and the value here. Okay, file is 10 for each dot name. So that's what we want. So okay, and in the file field list, we want second item name, and we want the sorry, maximize this, and we want modified it. Last modified. Okay, so let's debug again, and hopefully it should work. Let's see. And refresh. Okay, so now it's running fine. So if you see that get metadata is running 3 times for each, so that's how for all the files it is doing. So we'll just refresh that. Okay, so that's done. So if you look at the output of each of the get metadata, so you will see the file name and the last modified date. Now what we, so this, let me show the other ones as well. Okay, and so now what we want to do is we want to compare the modified date we are getting with another basically with the data that modified date we are getting. And then that's what we did here, right? So let me go back to the presentation, right? So for each file, then we'll compare if the modified date is greater than the reference date, we'll set the reference date to modified date. This is what we'll do next. So let me go back. Okay, so again for each, let me edit it. So we got the metadata, we got the file name. So now we want to compare, right? So there is an if activity. So let's say if condition and output of this here, right? Okay, and in there first we'll give the if condition. So if condition, what we want is activity or activity, yeah, and in here what should be this. So what we want to do is compare. We want greater. So what we want to compare is if the modified date is greater than the reference date. So if you go in here, there are active system variable or sorry functions that we can use. So there are a lot of functions. This will like we'll do a logical function. It's like any SQL server like that. So if you click on greater, so it will returns true if the argument first one is greater than second one. So we want to compare first the activity output for each iterator. We want to compare this with, sorry, I think, yep. Okay. No, I don't want to compare that. I want to compare the parameter. Sorry, I want to compare. Oh, I can see this out. I have not connected properly. Yeah, that's what the problem is. Let me edit this uh, for each. Okay, so let me edit this. No, I'm on if conditions for one for each, and there is no. Oh, okay, sorry. Uh, I'm sorry for that. Please see get metadata one. So sorry. It's just going here. Get metadata one. Yes, that's fine. So that is connected from here. So if I do if condition again, so it is add any content. Yeah, sorry. This is in activity. So first I want to do the function. So we will do that. Again, logical function creator. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to get the output from the get metadata, which was the modified date, right? So modified file. So we get modified last modified date, right? And that we want to compare with our variable that we have passing. So that is our variable, which is basically our reference date, right? Now that's what we want. If that is true, okay, that is true. So what we want to do in true is, right, we wanted to assign a variable. We want to basically, there is a set variable activity that we'll do. Okay, so let me I'll show you here. So in this set variable one, what we'll do is setting, and what we want to set is the current reference date. Right now, we want to the reference date we have. We wanted to set to what we want to is the modified date, right? So get metadata on modified date, right? You're getting this one, right? That's making sense, right? So that's what we discussed, right? So let me go back to presentation. So that's what this is what we are saying, right? The set reference, sorry, set reference to modified date. That's what we are doing there in the set variable activity. So that's that. And now another thing we want to do is we also want to get the file. So let me get another variable, set variable, and we'll get the output of this here. Okay. So we'll just set it here, and we'll say now we want the current file name, right, to be the file name that we've got from our get metadata, right? So let's go here and get metadata one. So we'll just do item name. Okay. So that's our current file name. So that's how each time it iterates, this will keep changing, and that's how it will run. Now we are done with the for loop. That's again, let's go back. So they will run this for 3 times and we'll get the modify. Finally, we'll have in the reference date, sorry, modify reference date, the last modified date and the file name as well. So now we can copy the files. So let me go back to this one. So for output of for, we want to copy the file. So we'll just go into copy activity. get the copy one. Copy. Okay, only copy data, right? And that's copy. So let me get the output of this to this. Now we want to copy the file. Oh, okay. So here in copy, we need to, sorry, let me delete the copy one. The source is, again, what we will do is we'll use the same source that we created for so for getting the file, each file. So because we want that one only, so get modified data source. Okay. In this, the value that we will pass for the file name will be the last uh, okay, the variable that we had. So because the current file name is the one which we want to uh, copy, right? So that's what we will use, right? So this is the variable, and because that's where we have stored the file which has the highest modified date. So that's what we'll do. We'll click on OK, right? That's file name we want to copy in the sync. We want to copy the same file name. So I will create a sync where this will go and parameterize it as well so that we can give the dynamic file names. This is basically, yeah, blob storage again. So let's continue and file and continue on that. And let's call it data, data source file modified, modified and file sync, right? So that's it. And let's go with top storage. Okay, so again we'll give the directory, but we'll not give the file, right? So let's go and okay, let's click on that. And we want it to go to the output folder. Okay, click on OK and click none here. Click OK. Now we'll just we'll go open this data source and we'll just parameterize this. So what parameter we want is, again, we want it here to be file name, right? And connection. Okay, so I go ahead and instead of file name here, now we can give the this file name, right? That's what we want. This parameter we want to pass it to the data set. And what's the value of that? So we'll go back to our pipeline. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Yeah, right. So now if you see the sync, it is this is the modified as sync. So value that we want to give here again is the same, which is the current file, right? Variable, my variable, that is the current file. We'll click on OK. That's all. Yeah, so that's all we need to do. We have set. Let's run this now. Okay, debug. Okay, so it's running the get metadata thing. So we are in if condition, right? And it's copying the data. Let's wait for. Okay, so it's successful. Let's go and have a look on our storage folder and ADF files. This is ADF file. And if I go into output, yeah, so it's only copied for file 3. Yeah, that's the one which we had. It didn't copy 1 and 2. That is what we had the last modified data accept. So that's how we can copy a file with the last modified date, which is the maximum. Yeah, which has the highest last modified date. That's how we can do it. Yeah. So any questions on that? Yeah, I'll share the recording for the first two ones. So I took yeah. Okay, okay. Any sorry, anyone has any question right now? Anything that you want me to show? Sorry for a longer session today. It got a little extended. Sorry for that.
No issues.
Okay. I hope it was useful. I'm also
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yes, yes, yes. We gain something, Anup,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. Thank you. So what I'll do is I'll maybe let me I'll stop sharing now and I'll just share my last. So let me go into YouTube and get you the links. So it's so, so I can just one layer guys I have. Okay. And there's my YouTube channel thing. Okay. Right, let me copy the link. Share. Right? Okay, so copy the link. Okay, so I have pasted the link to the last two session in the chat and just paste it once again. Where is the chat thing? Go. Do we get the chat there? Sorry, chat. Okay. Yeah, so this is the link for the second video, and in that, if you go to the comment in the description, I have put in the link for the first one as well, the first video, because first video I made on on Loom, that was I forgot to record the first time, so that's why. Uh, so if you have any other questions, you can always hit me on WhatsApp. I think that's all I have for right now. Okay, thanks everyone. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Anup.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Anup.
Thanks. All right.